9 August 2020, and I'm joined by Mr. Terence Simbi, author of the book, Zimbabwe, Installing a True Democratic State. How are you, sir?
Yes, I'm doing well, Mr. Gambangwe. How are you?
Fantastic. So today I want us to go straight into the topic, which is to do with the recently signed Global Land Compensation Agreement between Idi Mnangagwa and the Commercial Farmers Union of Zimbabwe. You have a chapter in your book about land reform.
Yes.
Can you give us your views on this agreement?
Yes, the chapter which is in my book is the last chapter, which I talk about this issue to do with land. And the main topic of that chapter, it says whites, which means the British colonial powers and those white farmers always win against us, the blacks, because they are able to play the long game. And we are always playing the short game. That's why they continue to outsmart us, because we are always playing to the gallery of what they intend to do. So in the chapter, I start by highlighting some of the challenges which were there before the liberation struggle, where we had two political parties, the ZAPU and the ZANU, which were fighting against the white governments. But the strongest positions we always get as the blacks, is when we are united. So before the Lancaster House Conference, these two political parties with their fighting arms were able to unite to go into that Lancaster House. And this is the strongest position we have as the blacks. When we are in unity, when we have one accord on anything. So in that negotiation, they were able to say to the whites, we are not going to compensate you for land. But because of the problems that we always like to have power, they exploited us after the independence. Because after the independence came now, they saw the divisions which we had as ZANU and ZAPU and exploited us to their ends. Some of the allegations are that during the Gukura Hundi days, the settlers and the British government was heavily involved in that scheme. Why? Because it was protecting land which was owned by the white settlers which are in this country. So there were serious allegations that people like Perence Shiri had the backing of the British government, because by so backing an internal struggle inside our country, they were accelerating they were protecting the rights of white farmers. So this is how the whites always win over us, because we are always concentrating on who is president, who is in power, rather than uniting as blacks, as the black population, as the Zimbabwean population. And over the years, when we have always been united, they have not been able to outsmart us. But due to these political tensions we have, who is president, which tribe is dominating another tribe, we have always been exploited by our former colonial powers. And even as we see the chaos which is in this country right now with recent events, you see, during these recent events, that's where they now give us this agreement, this 3.5 billion, which is going to be a debt which is going to be on us for the next 30 years, because under the global agreement, this 3.5, we are going to raise it from issuing debt, which this debt is going to be paid over for a period of 30 years. This debt is going to be on us. So our kids, our grandkids are going to pay up this debt. But why are we getting ourselves into this situation? Because we are petty. We are just fighting over petty grievances as Zimbabweans. Who is president? Which party is in control? And they exploit us for those reasons. And this is the reason why this agreement has been signed.
You are saying the land agreement signed between the government of Zimbabwe,
yes,
and the farmers is bad.
It's bad.
Why?
It's bad because we don't have to compensate, because many people sacrificed their lives, to get this land. And even the improvements, because nobody compensated nobody compensated our own forefathers, our own grandfathers who were in this country when the settlers came. Ownership, yes.
Do you think when land was repossessed, it was given to ordinary people?
Some ordinary people benefited from the land reform, and this is a sector which I work in, because I once worked for a tobacco company. So there are different schemes there. There is the A1 scheme and the A2 scheme. So at the beginning of working this company, there were a few blacks who really were in these industries. But critical decisions were made where institutions which were supported, institutions like the Tobacco Research Board were instituted. They were very much designed for what? For the small scale farmers, for the blacks farmers. Because before this land reform program, seed was distributed by a single company, and it was distributed for white farmers only. So these institutions have been able to distribute it to the blacks.
Okay.
So by so doing, I see that the productivity is now
not land ownership. If
land
you are
ownership.
saying A1 and A2, that's
Yes.
not land ownership. It's land use, because
Land
it's a
use,
lease.
Yes, it's a lease.
It's not a.
I think
No one got a title deed.
well, I think those are the decisions which we now have to make now. Whether and these are some of the exercises which are about to happen with this land audit, to see that is there people who are on multiple farms. After that exercise happens now, that's when we can issue land title to people, to those people, if we discover that. And this process has to involve everyone. Even the opposition has to be involved. Every Zimbabwean has to be involved in this process, because it's no longer sustainable to operate land leases, which the government is, because they are not bankable for loans and other stuff. So that's why we have these programs like the Tagwire, Command Agriculture, whatever. Because a farmer who does not have title does not have a right to go to the bank and acquire a loan to order to farm on that land. So these are some of the issues we have to make decisions on, to see after we make a transparent land audit, are we going to offer title and let the farmers now make decisions, rather than the government continuing with this program of command agriculture and giving inputs to farmers. Farmers should be given now the right to own that land, and the right now to go and approach the banks for them to now farm on that land.
Okay, so you say the agreement is bad because people who took the land forcibly were not supposed to be compensated.
Yes.
Now, let's go to what you call the long game.
The long game, yes.
And the short game. What is the long game?
The long game is sticking to the objectives which you have. So the whites had their objective at Lancaster House. They didn't want to pay for that land. They wanted that whenever we were to take the land from them, we're supposed to what? To compensate them. That's the game which the whites had in that constitution, at that conference in Lancaster. So they placed section 16 in that. We said for the first 10 years after independence, land was supposed to be compensated through an agreement called the willing buyer and willing seller, where the government of Zimbabwe and the British government and the American, because the Americans also came into this whole issue. They were saying that for every dollar which the Zimbabwean government wants is spending towards repossessing this land, it will also match that payment term. So when things got stable now in Zimbabwe, whites no longer wanted to move out. So finding willing sellers became what? Difficult. And some of the issues now, that's where the Gukula Hundi comes in to this issue. Because one of the things, because ZAPU and ZANU, when they came into government, ZANU was the one which won ZAPU was sort of like on the sidelines, just like the situation we have with ZANU-PF and MDC right now. So the whites exploited that due to tribal issues, and they begged ZANU. People like Perence Shiri, they begged them. Even the current president, who was head of intelligence, they begged them. Because they went, by doing Gukura Hund, they were providing stability to the farms, security to the farms of these settlers. So this is the British game. They play it long, and they use various tactics to create divisions inside our country. To their what? To their benefits.
Okay, but the Zimbabwe government was given 2.2 billion, according to reports that I received.
Yes.
To undertake the willing seller, willing buyer, sort of program. Yes. What happened to that 2.2 billion?
Obviously, issues to do with corruption come in. And how corruption has been perpetuated in this country is by these political divisions which are in this country. When there is internal division in terms of there is MDC or there is ZANU-PF, I think you did a report right now where you're talking about now the MDC is now, there are allegations of what? Corruption within their ranks also. Even in ZANU-PF. Because the focus will be now on fighting each other as political parties. And it gives us now the risk of people who have their own selfish reasons going into these political parties, not for supporting MDC, no, but because they see that the situation is there will never be proper accountability when there is a fight between two opposing factions in the country. But they also perpetuate even those fights, the MDC and the ZANU-PF fights. Why are they perpetuating it? Because there will be no proper accountability in that situation where we are just warring against each other. When we are fighting against each other, people who have business interests, who have sinister interests, infiltrate in both parties, whether MDC or ZANU-PF, to further their own agendas, to be corrupt. So corruption will be very much difficult because at the first of it, we are just saying MDC, ZANU-PF. And this is the fertile land for people who have sinister ambitions and sinister agendas to be corrupt in that situation. And nobody will catch them because the fight will be just MDC, ZANU-PF. Look at right now the demonstration which was planned there. And the result of it, right now we are talking about, it's a war against MDC, it's a war against ZANU-PF. It's no longer about corruption now. But there are serious allegations in both camps of people who are within those ranks. Even the MDC with that stand issue, even ZANU-PF with those issues which are there in the farm deals or whatever. But nobody's talking about them. It's now about this fight. So this is the strategy which our former colonizers has always used us to divide us and create this situation where we are just warring each other. But after that, they are pushing their own agenda. So we have to be very careful because we have even the national anthem of the British national anthem. The second stanza, you have to know what it says. Scatter your enemies and make them fall. Confound their politics, frustrate their canvas tricks. On the hopes of how we fix, God save us all. So we have to be very careful about our opponents. Our opponents are not Chamisa and ED. No. Our opponents are the whites who are creating this confusion in this country and pushing their agenda and pushing their interests to our detriment. You see, this agreement did not just happen in the blue. There are factors which even ED had to consider. Because one of the things which has happened, even after the land reform, there were sanctions which were imposed on the country. Even if you look at the investments we are getting, they are blocked because of what? Of sanctions. And for ED Mnangagwa, he's being asked to deliver in such conditions. So you end up what? Signing off to some of these agreements. You end up giving in. These are tough issues. But we have to create a governance systems in which everyone feels that he's a Zimbabwean. He has a part to play in Zimbabwe. And we don't have to place all the responsibility of running this country to Edi Mnangagwa. Our governance systems must reflect the diversity of interests and even ethnicity and even regional characteristics of our country moving forward.
Let me take you to the types of land we have in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
We have urban land.
Yes.
We have rural land.
Yes.
We've got farming land. We've got tourism type land.
Yes.
So I can say we've got 4 classes of land, and you have added the mining type of land.
Yes.
The land we're talking about when you talk of land repossession is basically agricultural land.
Agricultural land, yes.
Okay, but is compensation the problem, or how we use the farm going forward?
That's why I'm saying now the problem in Zimbabwe now are these restrictions which have been imposed on us. That as a country we could not move forward.
You know what I would do myself? Firstly, I would set an objective of properly separating the types of land that we've got, have a proper database of what land is where and belongs to whom.
Yes.
And set a target to say, we want this type of farm to produce this kind of produce by this time.
Yes.
And also, we want to distribute this land to these people by this time. Have a transparent way of showing who owns what land.
Yes.
Then I would redesign the land tenure system to say, are we going to say all land belongs to government, or all land belongs to leasing, and have an agreement with banks to say, if someone is leasing for 99 years,
yes,
you can fund 1 year's produce. You don't need a title deed for that. If a person does not pay back the loan, then you can take that farm and give it to another person to lease. So that deals with the issue of whether banks can, the farms are bankable or not.
Yes.
Also, we can deal with the issue of urban land, the farms that are peri-urban.
Yes.
Properly allocate land. The situation that we have in Harare now, where people are just operating on cooperatives, that also needs to be sorted out.
Yes.
Right. So we have to deal with being organized. And I
as a country,
yes, we can't blame the British or the Americans for this.
Yes, but I'm saying now, some of the fights which are happening internally, we have to blame them. And if I are to move forward with the same principles or the same chaos as a country, the same disorder as a country, we are going to enter more agreements like this. And I'll give the example of the unity government. Everyone felt that he's part of the country then. The only time where we saw things collapsing was the final year of the unity government, when we are now thinking of elections. And this is the problem in Zimbabwe. The election year, even if you look at it financially, you see that things go on a low because the tensions have returned in the country again. So we have to fix the governance system so that we think long. We don't always have these 5-year targets to win us the next election, but we think for the long term. We feel that all of us are part of the governance system, and this is all I can say about Zimbabwean politics and the current chaos which is even happening in this country as we go into Heroes tomorrow.
Okay, Mr. Terence Simbi, I've taken more of your time than I anticipated, and I think let us give people a chance to respond. I'm going to put your number on the screen so that people can talk to you about the land compensation agreement. And during the week, I am going to personally read through the document and summarize it for people. I know many people haven't read it, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you very much for joining me this week again. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Let's be united and let's not continue in this way, because we will be disgraceful to the people who gave their lives for us to be a prosperous nation as we go into Heroes Day. So enjoy your heroes. And
thank you very much, Mr. Simbi.
Okay, thank you.